There we go, sorry about that. So basically take 2 rads, basically the same type of rads you'd use in a boiler system. You're making a closed loop with a 20-gallon, 120-volt, small electric hot water tank. You'll have a little small circulation pump, inline, closed loop system. And as the tank heats up with water, once it's full and hits temperature, obviously the element will shut off. And the little pump will continuously run, basically 24/7, to move the heated water around the loop through 2 rads and then back to the tank. So that you're not introducing any cold water to the system, but the rads will basically use the heat energy produced by the element in the water and use the heat that is in the water to put that into the air via the rads and radiate it into the space. And you can move these rads wherever. You can have, you know, a couple in a room, or spread them out, however your building's set up, or add more than 2, of course. Now, I won't know if it works until I do it, but if it does work, that's pretty sweet. Because before the sun goes down, you could jack up the heat on the tank as high as you can, well, within reason, before the sun goes down, just as a maintenance thing. And then your battery bank will run the it'll run the system via the circulation pump throughout the night, 24/7, and that should be that. Now, obviously, you're going to need, during the daytime hours, you'll be able to run this 120 volt off an inverter, and the inverter is going to have to be a pure sine wave that can handle, like, I'm assuming 3,000 to 4,000 watts pure sine wave. And the nice thing about that is the inverter is going to give off some heat as it runs on a high load 120 volt appliance. Once the water temperature in the 20-gallon tank is reached, it will shut itself off via its own thermostat built in. And the circ pump's going to run non-stop, and it's going to draw like piddly squat, so you don't even have to worry about that. But you'd have to put the 120 volt tank on a dawn till dusk timer. That way it doesn't run during the night and drain your batteries down. Other than that, those are your major loads. Now, obviously, you're going to want a refrigerator / freezer of some kind. That can be run off 120 volts, no issues. Will they run at the same time on the inverter? I doubt it, because the startup for the compressors for some of this equipment is pretty huge in the amp range. So yeah, the problem now is 24 volt solar refrigerators are about, well, I don't know if they're close, but they're getting closer to the price of your average conventional 120 volt fridge. So that is where we have to go in to the situation. Should I go with 24 volts as opposed to 12 volts? And I think 24 is decent. I know everybody wants 48 volts. Do you know how much 48 volt batteries cost that are lithium? If you do, I don't think you'll see a return on investment unless you're a lottery winner, and then you don't have to worry about money. So 24 volt setup to run a high load at startup refrigerator, and conventional for refrigerator, and then obviously the electric electric hot water tank for the rads. Now the bonus about this part is the air conditioning / heat is on a separate setup on its own panels, and will have no effect on your inverter or batteries whatsoever. It's a single entity on its own setup, which I love. That's great. So you don't have to have a monster battery bank to deal with that. And in the, let's say in the winter time, your refrigerator shouldn't be on too much, cycling too much, unless you keep your house at pretty high temperatures. I like mine I like my temps a little cooler, 75, you know, whatever. That's pretty nice, pretty comfortable. If you can get that, maintain that. But anyways, in the summertime, you're never going to use your rad hot water tank rad setup whatsoever. There's no use for it, so that eliminates that in the summertime. You'd only use it in the wintertime months, and you'd only use it if you run out of firewood for your barrel stove or whatever the case is. But it's nice to have a little backup to get you by. So I kind of like that idea of getting everything kind of you basically, when you're off the grid, guys, you're the utility company. You got to control everything. So pretty sweet. Other than that, you can buy 12 volt TVs all day long. At the tiny house, I ran a 12 volt TV. I could run it 24/7, no issues. Wouldn't even tickle the battery overnight. Same with the ceiling fans and the lights. Wouldn't even tickle the batteries overnight. So with a 24 volt setup, you could get away with a lot. Now I'd have to buy like a DC-DC converter to convert down to, you know, 12 volts for a TV, or just buy a conventional TV and pray it doesn't suck up a lot of juice on the inverter or battery. You can experiment both ways, depending on the size and all the features and whatever. And then for internet, guys, we know Starlink is your option, and that's going to work great. And rumor has it, Elon's working on a cell phone that's going to use the Starlink capabilities. So that would mean you'd have unlimited Starlink internet on a cell phone, which means unlimited internet on cell phone while you're moving. Because if you basically, I think how it's going to work is, if you're a Starlink customer, you have your dish at home, but you'll have the ability to buy their phone, and also through that same contract have hopefully under that same contract use it, because they're quite expensive here in Canada. It's like $140 a month for unlimited for a Starlink, because I had one at the tiny house. If you use that, you'll have internet everywhere you go, which is awesome. And I'm sure they'll have it in their vehicles as well, the Teslas, at some point. So you'll be all around Elon Musk making all the money in the world here. Cell phone, vehicles, internet, everything else as he goes. So he's doing a good job at making money, that's for sure. Very smart guy. Awesome. But anyways, we'll see how that goes. It's going to be wild. So I'll be back in a bit.